Here it is, one of the biggest and baddest Chevy trucks you can buy right now. This is the brand new 5500 heavy duty crew cab 4x4 truck. And in this video, I'm gonna show you around the truck, show you all the features, take it for a first drive. And you gotta watch this because you might be surprised about some of the specs on this big beast. I was able to get access to this truck thanks to our friends at Johnson Auto Plaza. You can check out the link below to see the latest availability on this truck. And the new medium duty Silverado 4500, 5500, and 6500 trucks are available in just a few flavors. What you see here is the crew cab work truck, otherwise known as the WT. And this is one of the longer wheelbase, although this is not the longest. And it's also a four-wheel drive. You can also get a two-door cab, regular cab, obviously with a longer bed option. And there's a plethora of different cab to rear axle lengths and wheelbase lengths. You could get a truck a little bit shorter than this, and of course, longer than this as well. GM was working with International Navistar to develop this truck, and it was a collaborative effort as far as the chassis is concerned, the powertrain, the cab, and the whole integration. I think the whole truck works really good as a whole because you have really usable consumer level features like a touchscreen and good controls for your climate, as well as your auxiliary switches, four-wheel drive, etc., etc. You have comfortable seats, but also a lot of work truck capability. Because this is a four-wheel drive, it also sits off the ground a little bit higher by about 3 to 4 inches. And I'll show you the transfer case in a second. But before I get to that, let's talk a little bit about styling. And this Silverado medium duty borrows some of the style from the previous generation heavy-duty trucks from Chevrolet. You could see those double headlights, a big grille with a horizontal bar, and interestingly enough, the cab itself is basically identical to the cab that was available on the previous gen Chevy Silverado 2500 and 3500 trucks, including these mirrors, these towing mirrors. And they're pretty nice, even for a work truck. You got marker signals, turn signals in here as well, and the lights to illuminate what's behind you. And of course, DEF, diesel exhaust fluid, is required. And the filler is actually here on the passenger side. And you could work it really simply. Just half a turn, and you could open it and close it. And the DEF tank is right here on the passenger side, underneath the cab. And because this is a four-wheel drive, like I said, it sits higher, and you have these pretty handy side steps. Otherwise, you'll have a hard time getting in and out of this truck. But the height of the step is just right for me. Opening the hood is just 2 latches, one on each side. So let me get this latch undone as well. And then you can actually, it's pretty light. You can actually open it all the way this way. So you have really good access to this 6.6 liter Duramax turbo diesel engine on the inside. And this is basically the same design engine, although the ratings are quite different. This is what Chevrolet calls L5D engine, heavy duty version of their 6.6 liter Duramax. So this is not the same rating as you will find in their 2020 heavy duty trucks, the 2500 and 3500 series. The rating on this engine is 350 horsepower and 700 pound-feet of torque. So you might say, wait a minute, doesn't the other engine is rated at much higher, 445 horsepower, and 910 pound-feet of torque? Well, yes, but for these commercial trucks, they have to be rated for emissions differently. And you can actually see the sticker here that lists the power, 350 horsepower at 2700 RPM and 700 pound-feet of torque at 1600 RPM. They're rated as an engine dyno for emissions. Because there's so many variations and you can do so many things with this commercial truck for work or play. Of course, it can be a bucket truck, a dump truck, a stake truck, a utility truck, a plow truck. So the engines are rated differently, but I'll show you exactly how it accelerates in a second. To close the hood, there's a little trick here. There's a little latch lock on these struts for the hood, so you need to kind of leave it in the open position in order to close the big hood. So let me try that now. Let's pick up some speed and see how this truck rolls. The revs build pretty slowly. This is, after all, a very, very heavy-duty truck. Acceleration is adequate, I would say. If you're used to a diesel pickup truck, it's slower than that. But still, very usable. And I'll show you a 0 to 60 acceleration right here, right now. There's 60. How many seconds was that? I'll put a timer on the screen, and maybe you could also time it at home and see what this truck did in an impromptu 0 to 60 test. On the open highway, this truck is begging for some payload. It wants to be weighted down. It wants to be carrying stuff, working or towing. Doesn't like driving empty, and of course that's its purpose, is to carry lots of payload. So let's go over quickly the capability of this truck, because it's very important, of course. This 5500 has a gross vehicle weight rating of 19,500 pounds. And of course the truck weight differs. The curb weight is not even listed on most of the GM's websites, but the strength of this truck is payload capability. And as you can see from this aftermarket bed on this truck, it's ready to haul heavy weights. And the payload capability is well in excess of a dually 3500 truck. Dually may be capable of about 7,400 pounds, 7,500 pounds of payload. These trucks, we're talking about 10,000 pounds of payload approximately, depending on the configuration. So payload is where this truck really shines, but it doesn't really shine in terms of towing capability, because gross combined weight rating varies between 26,000 pounds and 30,000 pounds. Considering this truck approximately weighs, what, maybe 10,000 pounds at the curb, it can only tow a maximum of about 20,000 pounds. And you have a heavy-duty hitch built into this aftermarket upfitter bed over here. And if you want to tow more, like 30 or 35,000 pounds, you will have to go to the 2020 heavy-duty trucks from Chevrolet, the 3500 trucks. This truck is wired for 7-pin connection, and it actually has a backup camera right here built into the bed. So backup camera is enabled, but there's no 360 camera on this truck. These are heavy-duty axles, and you actually can turn these wheels in a pretty dramatic fashion, up to about 45 to 50 degrees. So although this is a very long and big truck, you can actually get it to turn relatively easily, although you will still notice, like I'll show you right now, that it's a giant truck. Here I'm gonna do a 180 in this big truck. The front wheels are designed to cut at a sharper angle, up to about 50 degrees. So let's see if I can navigate this parking lot and actually turn around and within one alleyway. And really I still need a long distance to turn around. I think it's comparable to what a dually 3500 truck would do, but don't expect it to be a little crossover when turning. These are not quite the same 1000 series transmissions as you would find in the previous generation 3/4 ton and 1 ton trucks from GM. This is what they call the 1700 series transmission, and there are several different options depending on how severe you're planning to utilize this truck. You can get slightly different variations of that transmission, and also you can get a power takeoff unit. But here, getting on the inside, this is basically the previous gen heavy duty truck. You'll be very familiar with the steering wheel, the seats. This is a 6-person configuration. So you got the center console, 3 seats here across in the front. Visibility is really great. If you know the GM trucks, and this is a GM cab from the previous gen, you know the visibility. The towing mirrors are great, they're manually extendable. Lots of glass, even with the headache rack behind me, I can still see clearly around the truck. And I don't feel it's a gigantic vehicle that I don't have good visibility around. I can see basically every angle of this truck and a commanding view of the road. You're probably wondering about pricing. The new medium-duty trucks from Chevrolet start at around $46,000, and this is a 2-wheel drive, regular 2-door cab, shortest wheelbase. Once you start upgrading this truck, making it bigger, longer, of course the price goes up from there. By the way, this 4x4 also has front manually locking hubs. You can leave them free, or you can leave them in the lock position here. This truck, I don't have an exact price on because of that bed, adds certain dollar amount to the total price. But once you get a crew cab, 4-wheel drive, and of course more accessories, you're talking about $60,000 range, approximately $65,000 for something like this truck. Of course, pricing varies. The 5500 series trucks with 19,500 pounds gross vehicle weight start at around 48 grand. There's also a 6500 level of this truck with a gross vehicle weight of up to 23,000 pounds, and that truck starts around 50,000. Once again, once you upfit it with a lot of other features, prices can go higher into $70,000-$80,000 range depending on your outfit. And you could also put like an ambulance body on this truck, so the possibilities are endless. Or make it even like a brush truck for fire department. Of course, those trucks would be very expensive because the equipment they carry is very expensive. All right, so this was just a first drive on this truck. If we ever get another opportunity, of course, I want to take it on the iGauntlet, do an MPG test, and test this big work truck properly. And go back to tfltruck.com for more news, views, and real-world truck reviews.